Chapter 1. The Alpha Who Didn't Belong. Aurelian Vale grew up loved too much. It wasn't the quiet, polite kind of love either, the kind given out of obligation or charity. No, this was the overwhelming, suffocating, borderline indecent kind of affection that made people whisper that the Alastair family, one of the richest business dynasties in the world, had lost their minds over an adopted child. They probably had. Aurelian was adopted at 6, thin as a reed, sharp-eyed, and already too proud to cry in front of strangers. Within a month, Lady Marianne Alastair had rewritten the emotional hierarchy of the household, placing Aurelian firmly at the center of it. Within a year, even the staff knew, young Master Ari comes first. And his brothers? They adored him. Cassian, the eldest, protected him like a prized asset and teased him like a menace. Lucien, the second son, watched him like the world would end if Aurelian so much as tripped. That was the problem. Lucien didn't just look. He lingered. His gaze burned, followed, claimed. Everyone noticed. Everyone encouraged it. That was what broke Aurelian Vale. By 19, Aurelian had built Auratech from a dusty garage startup into a billion-dollar empire. He didn't do it for money. The Alastair family had enough wealth to buy islands and forget about them. He did it for space. Specifically, space from Lucien Alastair. Work was safe. Numbers were obedient. Companies didn't look at him like they wanted to peel his skin off and crawl inside his bones. Sunday brunch, however, was not safe. "You're doing it again," Aurelian snapped, not looking up from his tablet as he scrolled through quarterly reports. "Doing what?" Lucien asked. His voice was low, smooth, that infuriating vibrating hum that made Aurelian's inner alpha want to either fight him or, worse, submit. "Staring at me like I'm prime rib and you've been fasting for a month," Ari said flatly. "It's creepy, Lucien. Get a hobby. Try knitting. I hear it's very soothing for overworked CEOs." The table went silent. Cassian, hidden behind a financial newspaper, snorted so hard he had to fake a cough to cover it. Lady Marianne beamed like Ari had just given a compliment. He just admires your work ethic, darling," she said warmly, sipping her tea. "He's admiring my carotid artery, Mom," Ari muttered, shoving a piece of bacon into his mouth. Lord Elliot Alastair merely chuckled, eyes sharp with amusement. "Lucien has always been intense." Lucien said nothing. He never did when Ari snapped at him. He just watched. Possessive, patient, dangerous. Aurelian hated that his heartbeat always betrayed him first. He loved them. God, he loved them so much it hurt. His parents spoiled him shamelessly. Custom cars he never asked for, penthouses he never used, entire vacations canceled because Ari looked tired once. Cassian treated him like a younger king, bulldozing obstacles out of his way without ever making him feel small. And Lucien? Lucien hovered. Lucien memorized his schedules, his moods, his coffee preferences. Lucien's presence was a constant gravity, pulling, stop. Aurelian had learned early to crush his feelings into something manageable, a tiny locked box shoved deep into his chest. Because the truth was unacceptable. He was an alpha. Lucien was an alpha. Two alphas didn't fall in love. They fought. They clashed. They destroyed each other. And worse, they were family. Adopted or not, the world would never care about that distinction. So Aurelian built walls. He stayed out late, worked harder, spoke sharper, laughed louder, loved quieter. Lucien, in response, grew more territorial. Cassian noticed. Their parents noticed too, but instead of intervening, they watched with a knowing calm that unsettled Aurelian more than outright disapproval ever could. Sometimes, when Lucien looked at him, eyes dark, pupils blown, jaw tight like he was holding himself back, Aurelian's sarcasm faltered. His breath hitched. And for one terrifying moment, he wondered what it would feel like to stop running. Then he remembered the rules. And he ran faster. Apparently, being loved is a crime now, Aurelian thought bitterly. Someone should arrest my family. He didn't know yet that fate had already found him, and it wasn't planning to let him go. Chapter 2. The Night of the Rut. The Alistair Gala glittered like a crown jewel. Crystal chandeliers burned overhead, music flowed like silk through the ballroom, and the most powerful figures in the business world gathered to celebrate 50 years of the Alistair legacy. It was meant to be a celebration. It was also meant to be a revelation. Aurelian Vale felt wrong the moment he stepped inside. His skin felt too tight, like it didn't fit him properly anymore. Heat crawled beneath his collarbones, his pulse pounding far too fast. His scent, normally sharp, clean cedar, curled into something heavier, sweeter, dangerous. No, no, no. Noari swallowed hard, fingers tightening around his champagne flute. A rut? Now? I don't just mishap into a rut, he muttered under his breath, panic flashing sharp and bright in his chest. I'm S-Class. S-Class alphas didn't lose control. They didn't crack. They didn't unravel in the middle of a ballroom full of predators dressed in silk and smiles. His gaze darted instinctively to Lucien. Lucien was already watching him. The moment their eyes met, something in Lucien's expression changed. Darkened. His posture shifted subtly, predatory focus locking in. That was when fear truly set in. Ari turned on his heel and moved fast, weaving through the crowd with forced composure, ignoring the way his body screamed for no. He slipped into a private study and slammed the door shut behind him. Or tried to. The door closed with a heavy thud. Locked? Ari spun. Lucien stood on the other side of the room. The air inside wasn't saturated with alpha pheromones. It was something else. Something older, deeper. Pressing down on Ari's instincts like an iron crown. Lucien inhaled sharply. His pupils blew wide. Aurelian, Lucien growled. His eyes glowed, deep primal crimson. Oh, hell no, Ari wheezed, stumbling back until his hands hit the desk. Stay back, you overdeveloped gorilla. I'm having a medical situation. Lucien took one step forward. I know, he said, voice rough, reverent. It's our time. Ari's laugh came out broken. You're hallucinating. Go get Cassian, or a doctor, or a priest. Lucien didn't stop. Instinct tore through restraint. The bond snapped into place not with tenderness, but inevitability. The world narrowed. Aurelian's protests dissolved into heat and confusion, his mind fracturing between fear and something terrifyingly familiar, belonging. Lucien's presence wrapped around him, overwhelming, possessive, reverent. And when Lucien marked him, permanently, it felt like the universe exhaled. Morning came cruelly soft. Sunlight filtered through gauze curtains. The bed was warm. Too warm. Reality crashed down. Aurelian jolted upright with a sharp gasp, hands flying to his neck. The mark burned faintly beneath his skin. Permanent. Oh, gods, he whispered. Shame, fear, horror tangled violently in his chest. I ruined everything. He dressed mechanically, head pounding, already rehearsing apologies in his mind. His parents, his brother, their family name. When he stepped into the sitting room, he braced himself for fury. Instead, Lady Marianne looked radiant. Lord Elliot looked smug. Cassian looked entertained. Lucien stood apart, rigid, pale, eyes haunted. You're awake, his mother said warmly. Sit, darling. You must be starving. Ari stared at them like they'd all collectively lost their minds. You're not angry, he croaked. Cassian snorted. Angry? Please, I lost a bet, though. What? Ari snapped. His father cleared his throat. Aurelian, there's something we should have told you years ago. His mother took his hands gently. You and Lucien are fated mates. The room tilted. What? Ari said flatly. The fuck? They explained everything. How they'd known from the beginning. How they waited. Because Ari had pulled away, built walls, refused closeness. How the gala had been arranged to finally tell him the truth. And if you rejected him, Marianne said softly, we were prepared to accept that. Lucy, Ria made a sound. A broken one. He dropped to his knees in front of Ari, head bowed, hands clenched. I overstepped, Lucien said hoarsely. I marked you without consent. I won't excuse it. But I swear on everything I am I will earn your love, even if it takes my entire life. Ari couldn't speak. Then Cassian added lightly, Oh, and for the record, Lucien, father, and I are enigmas. Silence. Ari's brain shut down completely. I need a drink, he whispered. Lucy, Louisa looked up, eyes blazing with devotion and guilt and possession. And for the first time, Aurelian Vale realized this wasn't a mistake. It was fate tightening its grip. Chapter 3. The Impossible Pregnancy. Life returned to normal. Well, Alistair, normal? Which meant the mansion was suddenly drowning in wedding planners, fabric samples, jewel catalogs, and a frankly concerning amount of flower arrangements. Marriage preparations began at a speed that suggested the family had been waiting for this moment their entire lives. Aurelian Vale, future spouse of a dangerously devoted Enigma, acted supremely unimpressed. Do I really need 6 outfits for the engagement dinner? Ari drawled, lounging sideways on a velvet sofa while stylists fluttered around him. I'm getting married, not staging a hostile takeover. Internally, he was vibrating. The thought of marrying Lucien, his Lucien, made his heart beat too fast, too loud. But on the outside, Aurelian maintained his reputation as a sarcastic menace. Lucien hovered like a shadow. Possessive didn't begin to cover it. If someone stood too close to Ari, Lucien noticed. If Ari skipped a meal, Lucien noticed. If Ari breathed too hard. I'm fine, Ari snapped one afternoon, swatting Lucien's hand away from his shoulder. I'm not made of glass. Lucien's eyes softened dangerously. You're made of mine. Ari choked on his coffee. Cassian laughed himself into a coughing fit. Lady Marianne pretended not to hear while absolutely hearing everything. It was almost peaceful. Almost. 2.5 months later, Aurelian collapsed in his office. One moment he was arguing with his CFO about expansion timelines. The next, the world tilted violently and went black. When he came to, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead and the scent of antiseptic burned his nose. Dr. Rowan Hale stood at the foot of the bed, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. Oh no, Ari croaked. You're smiling. That's never good. Congratulations, CEO Aurelian, the doctor said cheerfully. You're 6 weeks pregnant. Silence fell like a guillotine. Ari stared at him. Once, twice. Then the scream came. I'm an alpha, Aurelian roared, bolting upright. Alphas don't get pregnant. I'm not supposed to be this. I have not capable anatomy, doctor. Not an oven. Dr. Hale calmly adjusted his glasses. Enigma biology ignores the rules, son, Lord Elliot said proudly, standing beside Marianne and Cassian. We're having a grandchild. Lucien's pupils blew wide. His scent spiked, raw, possessive, feral. Ari felt the walls closing in. The room was too small, the air too thick. Lucien's gaze burned like a brand. His brain blue-screened. Error, error, reality not found. Before anyone could stop him, Ari swung his legs off the bed. Don't, Lucien started. Too late, Aurelian ran. He didn't think. He didn't pack. He jumped into his fastest car and drove like the devil himself was chasing him. The Black Site, a mountain cabin he'd built years ago under shell companies and false permits, was the only place left untouched by the Alistair Empire. For 10 days, Aurelian lived on protein bars, bottled water, and existential dread. He read ancient texts, classified research, Enigma physiology. His hands shook as he scrolled. Enigmas can rewrite the biology of their mates. Gestation is safe but rare. Offspring inherit extraordinary traits. Ari slumped back against the couch. Great, he whispered to the empty cabin. I'm a scientific marvel. I'm the only alpha in history who needs to buy a crib. His laughter cracked halfway through. Fear crept in during the quiet moments. Fear of losing himself. Fear of being trapped. fear of wanting this more than he was willing to admit. Back at the mansion, Lucien lost his mind. The moment Aerie vanished, something in him snapped. The Alistair Empire mobilized overnight. Satellites, private jets, security units. Lucien stood at the center of it all, eyes glowing faintly red, voice ice-cold. "Find him," he ordered. "Burn the world if you have to." Cassian watched him carefully. "He's scared, not rejecting you." Lucien's jaw clenched. "Then I will protect him from his fear." Lady Marianne pressed a hand to her chest, worry etched deep into her face. "Bring my baby back home safe. He's carrying our grandchild," she whispered. Lucien's fists curled. "My mate, my child." He would tear the world apart to bring Aurelian home. Unaware that fate had already rewritten everything, and that Aurelian Vale was standing at the edge of something he could no longer outrun. Chapter 4. The place. He hid his heart. The mountains had always been kind to Aurelian Vale. They didn't stare. They didn't ask questions. They didn't suffocate him with love that felt too big to breathe under. His cabin, hidden behind layers of shell companies, false land records, and paranoia, sat quietly among pine and stone. It was the only place in the world that belonged solely to him. Until the sky shattered. The roar of 3 helicopters tore through the morning mist, wind ripping through the trees as a fleet of black SUVs climbed the narrow mountain road below. Ari stepped onto the porch slowly, arms crossed, jaw tight. "So much for secrecy," he muttered. The moment the helicopters touched down, Lucien bolted forward, tie missing, suit wrinkled, eyes wild. He looked like a man who hadn't slept, eaten, or breathed properly in days. Cassian followed at a dead run. Lady Marianne stumbled behind them. Lord Elliot looked one breath away from ordering a military invasion. Lucien skidded to a halt in front of Ari, chest heaving. "Ari!" he roared. "If you're hurt, I'll burn this mountain down." "Oh, shut up!" Ari snapped automatically, though his chest loosened painfully at the sight of him. "I'm fine, dramatic idiot." Lucien's hands hovered, shaking, not daring to touch. "I thought—" His voice broke. "You vanished. You were pregnant. I couldn't send you. Ari swallowed hard. "I needed a minute," he said sharply, "to process the fact that I'm basically a seahorse now. You people are suffocating. I'm an S-class CEO, not a delicate flower." Lady Marianne reached him first, pulling him into a fierce embrace, tears soaking his shoulder. "You are our heart," she cried. "Do you have any idea what you did to us?" Lord Elliot wrapped his arms around them both, voice thick. "We searched every city, every country." Cassian crossed his arms, aura flaring protectively. "We almost declared a state of emergency." Ari snorted weakly. "I can see that. You brought helicopters for a wellness check? Dramatic much?" Despite himself, he didn't pull away when Lucien finally stepped closer. Lucien's arms closed around him like iron, scent pouring out, desperate and grounding and unmistakably home. Ari inhaled shakily, his knees threatening to buckle. "I was scared," Ari admitted finally, voice low. "I needed silence, peace. I didn't know how to think with everyone watching me breathe." Lucien slowly sank to his knees in front of him. Again. The sight shattered something fragile inside Ari. "You don't owe me strength," Lucien said hoarsely. "You don't owe me bravery. Just stay. Okay, my little baby Alpha." That did it. Aurelian Vale, S-Class Alpha, billionaire CEO, walking menace, broke. He cried for the first time in years, fists clutching Lucien's shirt as sobs tore out of him. Lucien held him like the world might end if he loosened his grip. "Never run again," Lucien whispered into his hair. "I'll build you a city. If you ever feel like running, go there. But don't leave like this, without telling us. It terrified me, my love." Ari laughed weakly through tears, burying his face in Lucien's neck. "Fine," he grumbled, "but the wedding better be spectacular. If I'm doing this whole pregnant alpha thing, I want a diamond crown." Cassian smirked. "Reasonable. And pickles, Ari added firmly. Lots of pickles. Lady Marianne laughed through her tears. Done. Lucien kissed Ari's temple reverently, possessive and gentle all at once. The mountains fell silent again. And for the first time, Aurelian Vale didn't feel like running anymore. Chapter 5. The heir of the Enigma. The wedding was private, which by Alastair standards meant only heads of global conglomerates, ancient families who moved markets with a phone call, and a security perimeter that could withstand a small coup. The media called it the event of the century anyway. Aurelian Vale walked down the aisle with his chin lifted and sarcasm locked and loaded, a diamond crown glittering unapologetically on his head. If anyone trips me, he muttered under his breath, I'm suing. Lucien, waiting at the altar, looked like a man witnessing religion. His eyes followed Ari with devotion so intense it bordered on feral. Possession rolled off him in waves, silent, absolute, terrifying. Cassian stood nearby, arms crossed, aura flared just enough to warn the guests that breathing incorrectly near his younger brother would be considered a hostile act. Lady Marianne dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief. Lord Elliot stood tall, pride shining openly on his face. When Lucien took Ari's hands, the world seemed to still. Vows were exchanged. Simple, devastatingly sincere. Lucien's voice shook only once. Ari's didn't shake at all. Congratulations, Ari murmured dryly as the bond flared warm and bright between them. You're stuck with me. Lucien smiled, like a man who had won the universe. I've been yours since the beginning. Married life was chaos. Aurelian Vale, still pregnant, still sharp-tongued, still allergic to rest, continued running Auratech like the laws of biology didn't apply to him. Lucien disagreed. Strongly. By the 4th month, Ari had 3 assistants, 2 bodyguards, and a mandatory snack schedule enforced by Cassian. If I knew getting pregnant meant this much attention, Ari complained, typing furiously on his tablet, I'd have charged rent. You are charging rent, Cassian replied, calmly. In anxiety. Lucien hovered constantly. Too close, too watchful. When Ari worked late, Lucien worked later. When Ari skipped meals, Lucien appeared with food. When Ari sneezed, Lucien nearly called a doctor. I am fine, Ari snapped one afternoon. Lucien crouched in front of him, hands resting gently over Ari's stomach, eyes glowing faintly. You are carrying an Enigma heir, Ari sighed. You people are impossible. By the 7th month, Ari collapsed mid-meeting. That was the end of it. Lucien shut Auratech down personally. You are done, he said calmly, carrying Ari out bridal style despite his protests. No more work. This is kidnapping, Ari huffed weakly. This is love, Lucien replied. Cassian nodded. Also kidnapping. Domestic life softened them. Morning sickness turned into midnight cravings. Ari demanded pickles dipped in honey. Lucien provided, immediately. Lady Marianne moved in temporarily. Lord Elliot installed new security systems. Cassian scared 3 doctors into excellence. When labor came, Lucien didn't leave Ari's side once. The child was born healthy, powerful, an Enigma heir with an Alpha's fire. Lucien held their child like glass in starlight, eyes wet, voice trembling. You ran once, he whispered to Ari, pressing his forehead to his mate's. I'll never let you feel alone again. Ari smirked tiredly, reaching for both of them. Good, he murmured, because I'm never running again. Outside, the world waited. Inside, the Alastair family finally felt complete.